Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
That, as they say, is that. Marvel Comics, let's go ahead and get started. How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And we're about to go into our panel, but I'm not alone. Who's with me?
Hey, it's Wonder Maddie here, host of Old Reader, New Reader, and we've got...
Hi, it's Oddfell.
Who are you? What are you wearing?
Oh, I'm in Dark Phoenix, naturally.
Dark
it
Phoenix.
Felt right.
Never heard of her. Dark
I
Phoenix.
gave it a great rating.
Yeah, never have heard of Dark Phoenix, actually.
Never heard of that. Madeline Pryor? Okay, who are you, sir?
Lars Pearson, Norwegian assassin. And Oddfell, you seem like the nicest and most agreeable Dark Phoenix of all.
Yeah,
I mean,
I might go destroy a sun later. Might not.
Yeah.
Not sure yet.
Yeah.
Haven't decided.
Keep her away
You
from
have to-
broccoli,
yeah,
people.
you have to work on the rage thing.
Yeah, just gotta get pumped up. Yeah.
So we're about to go in and do our panel, and it's going to be recorded so you can watch it later from the comfort of your home if you couldn't be here. Thank you all.
there.
Welcome, everybody, to the Near Mint Condition panel. I'm so happy to have you all here join us. Is anybody here by mistake? This is the Near Mint Condition. That lady in the back is here by mistake, okay. So in case you're not familiar with my channel, really quick, I'm the Uncanny Omar. I have a channel called Near Mint Condition. It's been around for 5, 6,
Like 7 years.
7 years. I used to do it with a group of friends, and then pandemic happened, and I decided to start doing solo things on my own, and have been doing that for a long time. Now I'm very blessed to be doing that for a living. And I talk about mainly collected editions, single issues, because my wife likes to collect single issues, and DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, every publisher, manga, yeah, anything that is in collected editions. And sometimes, creators reach out to me, so we do creator interviews, we do overviews. I do breaking news for Marvel. That's really cool, I think.
It's really cool. It's okay.
Okay, it is really cool. I get to wear a suit for that. That was completely happenstance how that happened.
He rents a suit every time he has to make an announcement.
No, I do not.
His dedication to it. Yeah.
He's bleeding the company dry.
Yeah, I know. That's why he has no money, and the kids are starving.
And the other thing I like to do on my channel is pay it forward. So I like to give things away. So when people send me books, I have a lot of giveaways during some kind of anniversary or some kind of achievement. Like we're about to hit 100,000. So we'll probably do a big giveaway for that. And I'm actually giving this book away today. Somebody randomly, so good luck. And I'm not alone though. My wife does help me on Saturdays, and she's running the camera right now. This is Astonishing Melanie. Oh, Baby, clap for me. Okay. Write those names down. They are not entered in the contest. And over the years, I have assembled a team of wonderful panelists to do all kinds of topics, whether it's evergreen chats or talking about the upcoming Marvel collected editions, or just I like hanging out with them. We just do all kinds of videos. Amanda and I do movie reviews and TV show reviews on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. But I'm gonna let these folks introduce themselves.
I'll jump in next since I'm also part of the channel. Hi, I'm Wonder Maddie. I do show. Thank you. I do a live show on Tuesday nights on the channel called Old Reader, New Reader, where we bring another reader in besides myself. And we talk about a comic book. Before I was the new reader back in the day, and I'm still new enough, hopefully, to 6 years I've been doing this. But I'm always on there talking about all sorts of books, and then sometimes you'll see me jump on for other edited videos or reviews or hauls, or I randomly show up and you don't expect me on a live show.
Well, yeah, we do have a live stream every Saturday.
We did this morning.
We just did this morning.
Yes.
We went out drinking last night.
Yeah.
And I'm still dedicated to doing it every Saturday. So, and then to my left is this young lady, and who are you?
Hello, I'm Oddfell. I'm a cosplayer. I occasionally I do a lot of cosplay and toy and statue videos over on YouTube, and occasionally I pop on the channel for Map My Ex or top 10 beatdowns, which are fun, where we just argue about what our top 10 evergreen to be. And we always have a really good time, and it's totally not heated. But it's always a blast. It's always fun to pop onto the channel.
It's friendly beat.
It's friendly.
I don't know. Sometimes Omar gets real
I
upset
do get really upset.
about your review.
I have that temper, but that's okay.
If you've never seen them, it's genuinely a blast and chaotic.
Then we get the audience involved, and it's a lot of fun to do
It's
those.
so much fun.
And Lars has been a part of those, so I'll let him introduce himself.
Yes, I'm Lars Pearson. I'm publisher and editor-in-chief of Norwegian Press, and in a former lifetime, I worked for Wizard Magazine. Thank you. And I go by the nom de plume of the Norwegian assassin. However, I must warn all of you, if you wish to employ my services, I charge very high rates, purely to cut down the amount of time. I mean, even I can't be everywhere and assassinate everybody who needs assassination. Therefore, I have to charge a very high price, just to drill it down. Neil Gaiman does the same thing. I mean, his speaking fees are very high because he can't be speaking everywhere every day. I mean, it's just too much, isn't it? So yeah. Polling all of you, it seems that you are actually have a very high knowledge of collected editions. Seems like a lot of omnibus collectors, a lot of absolute collectors. We have prepared slides, but it seems like their knowledge is pretty high. If you want to whip through those fairly quickly, and whip it.
This is the last one.
Yes, exactly. I think that the usual plan is that we're going to blather amongst ourselves for about 20 minutes or so, and then kind of throw it out to you and see what you're interested in and what questions you have that we can answer, or at least make some things up.
Yeah, so we have some slides where we talk about the different types of collected editions of comics, especially with some people that maybe aren't into this like very expensive hobby we all have of buying collected editions, and going through the different types and pros and cons and things, and using one in particular as an example.
Yeah. And before we do, I do have a question for everybody up here on the panel. What was your first comic book?
Well, okay, I'm a manga reader earlier in life, a lot of manga, so that would probably be Sailor Moon. But first Western comic I read all of Fables.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, good choice.
What about you, Otto?
Mine was, it was either Harley Quinn or Gail Simone's Birds of Prey. I don't remember which one I read first, but those were my first couple.
Which Harley Quinn run?
It was the Amanda Connor run.
You know, that's available in omnibus format, right? Lars?
Yeah, so being old, my first comic was Uncanny X-Men 143, which is John Byrne's last issue. Very last issue. And, to follow my life was the usual kind of moral panic about my parents weren't particularly supportive of this hobby. Of course, that issue is fairly grotesque. I mean, there's this giant weird demon thing breaks into the mansion.
The Gari, is that what they were called?
Yeah, Nagari or whatever have you, and tries to kill Kitty. But the way this worked is that I grew up in Story City, Iowa, and the thing was, Story City was a small town, 3,000 people. They had 2 magazine racks in town. Therefore, they only had 2 copies of any given comic in town.
Whoa.
So, when you were like in middle school or whatever, it was very important. You had to, on Tuesday, that's when they all came out, you had to get on your bike and you had to pedal like mad to go get to the pharmacy or whatever to buy one of the 2 copies of comics that you were reading. So if you didn't get it, I missed Uncanny X-Men 150, and it was like a year and a half before I could get to a comic book store.
Did you ever meet your counterpart, like your Bizarro Lars, that was taking all
Well,
the...
occasionally I would see my classmates with a copy of, I think I also missed X-Men 145, but one of my classmates had was like, damn. And I was able, sorry.
Good save.
We're just flailing here. I was able to borrow it and read it at least. But yeah, somehow, I couldn't find the kid who had 150. So I had no idea how the Magneto story ended. And it was,
So in my head, I see a Bizarro Lars out there somewhere. Could be walking the grounds of C2E2 today.
He still has that copy of X-Men 150, and he's laughing at me. Yeah.
So thank you for that introduction.
Omar, what's your you have to answer the question.
Uncanny 168. That's my first issue.
Okay.
It's From the Ashes, first appearance of Madeline Pryor. And I was sick in Peru, couldn't read English, and my uncle sent me a care package while I was healing. So that was really cool. That's how I got started reading comics. And I stopped for a little bit, but then I came back. And now I'm here making YouTube videos and talking to you wonderful people.
Doesn't that just show the power of good storytelling? Because 168 is not really an event. You know, it's not the Dark Phoenix saga, it's not the Brood saga, but apparently I presume like the storytelling of the characters drew you in. Even
Well, I
though
didn't know I couldn't read English. I just like the pretty pictures.
pretty pictures.
Yes. And Storm, drawn by Paul Smith.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. All right, so we got the slideshow. Wonder Maddie? What are we talking about?
You put it together.
It said it was designed by Dom of X. Okay, so
Using examples of a particular story and the different ways it was collected, so as through which we can talk about the different types of collected editions.
correct. So this is the single issue, right? This is what you all get in the newsstands or comic book stores, and this particular one was 75 cents. 48 pages, but it could be worth $2,500.
It could worth $2,500 to you.
Somebody in my comment section, because I've always wondered, did anybody ever meet the kid that won the shopping spree at Toys R Us?
Right.
And somebody in my comment section once said there was somebody in their town, and they made it in the newspaper, and they won like the Toys R Us shopping spree, which that's awesome. I can't remember if you had to cut the comic book to send something off or not, but
Yeah, I feel like for single issues, it's one of those things like it's gotten more expensive, and we want to like wait for trades, like we trade wait.
oh yeah, any trade waiters out there? Yeah, okay, all right. Single issue people still out there.
Yeah, how many do you collect singles? How do you collect singles and then go out and buy the trades of the same material? Aha!
I feel like, unfortunately, the best way to support a lot of the series I like or I'm interested in, I have to make sure I am there and getting all the single issues in my pull list so that doesn't get
So
canceled.
thank you, single issue warriors. Thank you.
Or just for covers.
Yeah, the variants always get me. I'm like, I'm not going to click more singles, and then variants come out, and I'm like, all right.
And then Jen Bartel puts out a nice Donna Troy cover in that suit, and you can't not buy it.
I don't know if the gentleman's here today, but somebody caught me looking through single issues, and I said, this never happened.
Nice.
All right, so that's, your single issue that comes out every month, because that's the way we release them here in America.
In a big way, your comic book stores make money.
Yes, absolutely. And then, of course, there were trade paperbacks of this. Now, the Dark Phoenix Saga is an interesting one because this trade paperback has been around for a long time. It's one of the few trade paperbacks that Marvel has kept in print for many years. It's probably regarded as one of the top 5 best stories Marvel's ever printed, and there's been many different ways this book has been printed. And the trade paperback has been around since the mid-90s, I want to say, with different covers. But now we have different formats the stories are available in.
Well, and again, we take for granted the all-access society in which we live, because again, I'm old enough that I was starting to read X-Men, and I heard about this Dark Phoenix Saga thing, but how can you read it? And so I had to convince my grandfather to go hunting from mall to mall to mall, trying to find a copy of that on the shelf. And I think we like the 3 malls, and finally we randomly did, and then I was able to read it, so.
I want to say it was available in Masterworks format before it got to the trade, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Because Masterworks started in the late 80s, and they jumped a little bit ahead with X-Men, because there was X-Men and then there was Uncanny X-Men. But this is one of the few books I think went to Masterwork format, and then they made it into a trade paperback. So the Masterworks have been around since the late 80s, so they are one of the first big collected editions that Marvel to this day is still putting out and reprinting too. They're doing the Remasterworks program.
Okay.
Oh, the essentials. These are your phone books.
Yeah.
They're black and white, but really cheap. And honestly, I bought a couple of these for my brothers and a couple friends that were trying to get into X-Men. I mean, if you look at 528 pages, $15. That was a deal. Of course, it was in black and white.
Well, yeah. So fun fact, I found that when I was reading black and white material, it just wasn't sticking in my head like color material was. I didn't like.
Do you have a problem with manga?
That's. I mean, some. But I just couldn't remember as well. And then I actually found scientific studies to prove it's not just me. When you read color, the amount of information flowing through your
I'd
brain.
like to see these scientific studies, Lars.
Okay, well, I don't have them about that person at the moment, but yeah. No, reading color, it actually embeds in your memory stronger. Yeah.
That's
So that's why my policy always is, if it's something in a color format, I will read the color format. If it's something, that's only in black and white, then something.
You know what's in this that is not in the color format? There's a shower scene with Storm in this. I don't know if you all knew this or not, but when it was colored, colorist covered her up.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yes. No, I remember that. Yes.
When it's in the black and white, it did not. So Marvel, the first printings of this actually let it slide. So there's a little bit of a shower scene with Storm.
So I'm not familiar with Essentials. Is that still format that's out?
Oh, it's a discontinued format.
Okay, that's what
They don't really do it anymore. Partly
Marvel showcases.
Partly Marvel did it when they were in bankruptcy and just needed, a cheap format to get out there. It didn't cost them very much.
Okay.
Yeah, the LCS I worked at, we just had like a shelf of them that we were like 60% off who wants them because we still had like
Right.
10 of them.
And there are people that collect. Anybody here collected the? Okay, there we go.
How
You still have
How
them?
many of you prefer them? You prefer them?
We prefer the essentials.
Okay.
Silver and bronze age, I like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really? Okay.
You like it better because they're cheap or just because?
Is the paper nice? That's a weird question. Probably for people who collect books. I don't think that's a weird one. Is the paper
It's
nice?
cheapness, it's the line art is better.
Yeah.
And if you have a box of crayons, you got,
Can you imagine it's somebody like Terry Moore's book?
True. Every one of these is a coloring book. It's true. Yeah, it's basically it's newsprint. Yeah. Sometimes it does look sharp.
Everything was great.
You're right. The horror comics, I think.
Dracula is great in black.
Yeah, I had too much Dracula, and I kept my House of Secrets and House of Mysteries because I didn't mind those being in black and white for some reason.
I like a nice black and white with like one pop of color, like that Red Sonja black and white.
Oh man, right? They're saving so much money now printing it in color, and they're like, oh, look at us, we're really artsy. And then the Masterworks, which I talked about and available. These have gone up in price though. This was originally printed in 2005, so I was wrong. I'm sorry.
How many Masterworks people in the audience? Oh, well, a few of you. Okay.
All right, you got money.
Yeah.
These have gone up to $75 now. And Uncanny, I want to say 14, I think was $100.
Some of them even higher.
Because it depends on the page count. If it's over 500 pages, I think it's when they start charging.
Well, on the back a lot, if it's a beloved story, because they'll reprint the earliest of these, but they don't reprint these a lot.
Well, they are reprinting them. Do you not watch Near Mint Edition?
I do watch it. As I say, they reprint the early ones. But the odds of them reprinting like Uncanny X-Men Masterworks number, 9 is not probably not.
Well, if you keep buying them, they'll keep reprinting them. That's the way it works, right?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
And this is the very first, oh my gosh, I keep that. So we had a Marvel omnibus of Uncanny X-Men Volume 1. And for the longest time, there was no 2. Does anybody remember those days? I don't know how long y'all have been collecting. There was no 2. And Marvel snuck this in on us in 2010. So we thought, oh, well, I guess I can get this because there's no Dark Phoenix in Volume 1. Volume 2 would be the Dark Phoenix saga. So they released this. And against all my willpower, I bought it. Because I was like, surely they're going to do a Volume 2 one day. I was so disillusional back then. I thought, oh, they're going to do 1 volume a year. And I started doing the math, how long it would take to get to like some of my favorite issues. Yeah, so we did get a deluxe hardcover. It was $74.99. And I'll actually talk about this one in the mapping in a little bit. And then the next one is the Milestones. So the Milestones were released in 2019. They were really experimental. They've never been reprinted, but they did every X-Men event. As a matter of fact, this was the first X-Men Milestone. They did like Fatal Attractions, they did Executioner's Song. They did all of the Marvel or X-Men events in this format. And a lot of people that couldn't get the oversized hardcovers or couldn't get the Omnis decided to stick to these, or they were getting the epics and they were like, oh, I want to get the event. So this is the route they chose to go.
Well, this was also on the heels of the Krakoa era taking off because, prior to that, some of you remember this, X-Men had been in a rut. It really had. And then here comes the Krakoa era and suddenly sales are like bursting And then they're like, hey, we can make a lot of money selling the
And
previous,
he sold out.
selling the previous, big key stories. And yeah, this is the mechanism by which they did it.
I'm really surprised they cranked these out, and I'm surprised they never reprinted them. Did anybody pick these up?
Yeah.
Okay, milestones.
I think it just sense the moment is now. People are buying X-Men. We should really get these out.
I guess they knew. I always thought it was interesting that they started with the Dark Phoenix, because even though it's an event, when I still think of events, I think of crossover events. So I was like, well, is it really an event, or is Mutant Massacre really the event? But they did, they went through the whole thing. And at that time, so many books were out of print. This really helped a lot of people out. And then the epics came. This is another brainchild of David Gabriel came up with the Omnibus and Epic collections. And it's funny because he always tells me stories about how the book market hated these. Like when he went to a convention he announced these, people were upset. They were like, how can you put the number on the back?
Oh.
They were so angry about that. They were like, this is never gonna take off, and you're starting with random volume numbers, and you start with volume 1. And he was like, well, we're testing things out. We'll see how it goes. And this was huge. I remember when Curtis and I were announcing Epics together. By the way, Curtis, right? Anybody watch this show? He's a good guy. So there was a book that they sent us. It was the Conan book. And Curtis was like, hey, this isn't an Epic collection. Can you ask David? And I was like, okay. So I asked David if Conan could be an Epic, and David replied back, not every book can be an Epic collection. And now, years later, it's like every book is an Epic collection, including modern Epics, which is just crazy.
How many Epic collectors? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Higher now. Yeah.
So, we've got, over 400, 500 now? I think we reached a huge milestone. They've done so many different lines, and I thought it was really cool to start with, what was it, the Iron Man, Enemy Within. If you had the omnibus of the David Michelinie or Bob Layton, John Romita Jr., that is the follow-up story. So I thought, oh, that's really cool. They're using that as a placeholder, even though we still don't have an omnibus follow-up to that. And I thought it was genius to start it right. It's not a volume 1, it's not the modern stuff, it's somewhere in the middle. Stuff hasn't been collected, not masterworked. And it worked. Because there were only 4 lines at first, and then they kept expanding. There were 6 lines, and then they went on to 10 lines. I remember when they added X-Men, I'm like, I'm not going to collect X-Men in this format. I'm so stupid I did. I started getting X-Men in this format.
Very rough guess.
I like the way it's mapped.
Very rough guess. How many of you own at least 25 Epics? Rough guess, how many of you own 50? 100. 150? 200 Epics! Higher. 250 Epics! Do you have how many do you have?
Every Marvel produced.
You have every?
Star Wars ones.
No Star Wars.
And Conan.
And Conan. Oh, okay.
But every Marvel one you have. So that's probably what? Is it about 400? Still? 350. How about over here? How many for you, sir?
Every single one.
Every single. Including Star Wars and Conan.
And mine.
Well, you're the winner. You're bankrupt. But you're the winner. Well done.
There is a ongoing joke between Curtis and I, because he loves his Epicureans, people that collect all the Epics and Epic collections, and I'm more of an omnibus guy, but I really like every collected edition. One of the biggest differences, of course, of all the formats we've seen so far, none of them have collected the letter pages, which to me are just wonderful part of comic book history, because you get to see people, you get to see bands at the time, that grew up reading Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Steve Ditko, and then became a name for themselves. Or Wolfman, Kurt Busiek, people like that writing letters, I really like your book, Mr. Lee. And then they became writers and editors later on. I think that's wonderful. And then who was it? Art Martin, right? He wrote a couple of letters in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
He went on to do Song of Ice and Fire. So they were fans from all over the place, and I love seeing letters. I love seeing letters going, this sucks. It's kind of like Twitter. That's the way we handle things now.
I still rage on these type of letter pages. I thought I would write through our.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so the omnibus is a only format that collects the letter pages. So that's what we're talking about next.
And then,
The omnibus format. So these were introduced kind of as a trial run with Barnes & Noble. They did Ultimate Spider-Man, that was exclusive at Barnes & Noble. It didn't do that well. And then they did their own Fantastic Four, and it did okay. And then they went to do X-Men. And I remember when this line came out, I was like, I already have these. I'm not gonna get these again. I got the single issues. And then I was like, oh, it's in an oversized format. And I don't have to get my single issues out. I'll just get one. I'm only gonna get X-Men. And then, yeah.
Omar's never bought just one of anything in his entire life. It's either double dipping or I got this figure out.
I have a problem.
The entire line of them.
A few years ago, my kid bought me a Marvel Legends Wolverine.
Oh no.
And I looked, do you remember this, Melanie? I looked at my daughter and I was like, do you realize what you've done? Now I have to get them all. Instead of saying thank you,
How many Marvel Legends do you have now?
I have all the X-Men. Well, I don't have the Brood Queen from like the previous releases.
how many of you seriously have a problem, like, you know, having more than two of the same thing? You know, different formats. Yeah, it is a problem, isn't it?
Sometimes you have to.
What if you're
Sometimes.
traveling and you're like,
Yeah.
a paperback to read? Or what if something happens where you lose one? You need to have a backup one. I can always justify this.
Is if you lose yours,
Omnibuses
you'll...
are like impossible to actually read.
That's not true.
I mean, you can, but they are cumbersome. And so then I'll buy the omnibus, like, oh yes, it's here on my shelf forever. And then I will open up my trades to like go and read through.
I had to exert the discipline of having something in 3 different formats. I was like, okay, this is stupid. You know, like 2 different formats should be
No, Lars, it's just that you're a real fan. That's what it means. That's what it was. Yeah, does anybody have more than 2 formats of the same story collected? Yeah, 3? Okay. If it's your favorite, I get it, right? And then every format available.
How many, a favorite story or something, you have 3 different formats of it? 3, 4, 5. You might be, what's the story if you have 5 formats? ElfQuest! Oh, an excellent choice. And you, yeah?
I've got the singles, the original trades, the Panini UK trades, the Marvel, the Modern Epic, and the Omnibus of Spider-Gwen.
Awesome.
Spider-Gwen!
You have the digest size?
I do not have the, oh,
No! Well,
I got you.
after this, you get to the showroom.
I wish I had brought one with me. I usually give those away to my wife's students and kids, or little libraries. I love the little digest-sized books. But yes, the omnibus is my favorite format. Like I said, it's got all the letter pages in there. For the if it's in chronological order from the Silver Age, those usually tend to have the letter pages. The artwork is. They're using the scans from the Masterworks for more of them. So when you see people get excited, oh, they're doing this in Masterwork form, that usually means later on that we'll use the same scans for the new omnibus, which has a lot of people happy with, like when Daredevil got to the Frank Miller era in Masterwork form. They were like, oh, now when Marvel reprints this, they're going to release the original colors and it's going to be restored and it's going to be wonderful. But they didn't. So I'm sure that will be a future volume of Daredevil. Okay. And is it the last slide?
That's the last slide.
That's the last slide, okay. So,
Now it's chatting time.
Yes.
gallery editions,
Gallery
right?
edition, yeah.
Well, there's no Spider-Gwen gallery edition, so.
And this is just like the Marvel layout too, because for me, if I'm talking about my favorite collected edition, favorite type of collected edition, it's definitely Dark Horse like library editions. That's my favorite of all time. That's how I prefer it to be, if at all possible.
No dust jacket.
I hate dust jackets. Controversial opinion, I hate them. I hate them, they're in the way, I'm gonna wrinkle it. It's just more stress than I need. I just want a cover that feels real nice.
Hey, no, what? You take the dust jacket off and then you read it.
I'm gonna mess that I am.
Dust jacket.
I have a
Well, yeah, yes.
yeah. I just keep them in a drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put your dust jacket on.
Or make like an absolute, like Swamp Thing, where it has a little case, you pull it out and it feels really nice, has a really nice face feel, That's nice. That's luxury. With a ribbon,
What about
a dust jacket.
Phil, what's your favorite format?
I like trade paperbacks. A lot of times if I really like a story, I want to lend it to friends. So I feel like trade paperbacks, they're smaller, so you have to collect more, but I like that they're more digestible, like chapter size things. Like, I have all of Astonishing. It takes up like this much of a shelf, where if I had like an Omni, it'd be this much of a shelf, but I don't know. I like having it more broken up. Yeah.
I gotta really like you to let you borrow an omnibus. Like, not even my wife wasn't allowed to touch my absolutes. That's an ongoing joke.
Where
I got married.
But it's like a trade. I'm like, this is $14. You can borrow it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, here you go.
Okay, Lars.
When it comes to comic books, I swing both ways. I'm sorry. I don't really have a favorite. I mean, it just depends on the series and what's available where. Sometimes it's an omnibus, sometimes it's an absolute edition, sometimes it's an epic. Like the Silver Surfer by Steve Englehart. It's all out in, epics. It's not honored, and I probably won't upgrade when it comes on. So it's like, okay, I've got the epics, that's fine for me. I don't need an omnibus. I still have a bunch of OHCs, oversized hardcovers, just because that's what the format was, and I didn't upgrade.
Yeah.
My collection is really this melange of formats. Yeah.
I feel that, like, in some ways I think it depends on what cover art the book gets, too. It's actually really
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
I will say, since all of you are here, I can tease that there is a new format coming from Marvel. I'm not allowed to say anything else, but I'm sure there'll be a video sometime of breaking news about this new format and what books will be available in this new format.
Okay.
Secret.
But I like the name.
Okay.
So now we're open for questions.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want to come up to the mic and ask.
So the microphone should be active, or just, I don't know.
Or you can
if you have questions about, like, where do you buy them? How do you put your shelf together?
Found your mighty yelp, as it were. Is that, okay, go for it.
Hey, I'm Joe, long-time viewer, first-time panel attender.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
Are you able to define, like, which editions are coming? I'm big on X-Men. The Krakoa era, like, collected editions truly mystify me. It's oversized versus omnibus versus trade.
It's mystifying to a lot of people. Yeah.
That's a valid answer. I'm just fine, because I can't figure out the pattern. Is there a pattern? Is it random? How do they make these decisions over there, if you know? Thank you.
Well, a lot of it, of course, is based on sales, right? And if the book keeps selling, then they're going to keep making that format. And I think for now, they've learned their lesson about waiting until said era is done. Because when these books when they were experimenting in this format, there was like the Brubaker Captain America, and there was Brubaker Daredevil, and people I see in the comments like, why is this book so skinny? Because he was still writing the book, so he wasn't done. Marvel didn't know how long he was going to write it, but they wanted to crank out the omnibus format. So what they've learned is like, okay, let's wait till this particular era is over, and then we'll start mapping these things out. I do know eventually we're going to get some omnis, because I've asked myself, because I love the omnibus format of that stuff. How it's mapped and when they're coming, I don't know yet. But they did discontinue the anthology series, which I really like. I like collecting them in the anthology series, and it made it so much easier that, outside of a couple of miniseries, they didn't miss anything. Then it became harder because it was like, okay, now you gotta keep tabs on what's coming out, what miniseries is gonna be collected. So, like I said, they are gonna do omnis of this era. I don't know if it's gonna be like just X-Men, or if it's gonna be one creator, or if it's gonna be kind of like their anthology. If it's their anthology, it's gonna be insane. It's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of books.
I'm one of those weirdos who, we've gone. I'm one of those weirdos who just kind of like lives in the moment, as it were. So I have been getting a lot of the, what omnibuses and OHCs they have released. Yeah. I've gone ahead and bought those because I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make decisions based on what's out now versus what they may or may not do in the future. If they were to commit to like an omnibus of everything, I'm not sure that I would buy it. A lot of people would.
I'd make you buy it, Lars.
Well, I know you would. But because there would be a lot of stuff in there that I'm like, wasn't that good? A lot of it was great. But
that's how you sell that stuff, right? You put the great stuff with the not so good stuff.
Sure.
About every.
Well, I hear you. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I make decisions based on that. It's hard. Yeah.
But I think for now, the safest bet, if you want everything, is the trade paperbacks. Not the anthology series, but the trade paperbacks of X-Men, the trade paperbacks of X-Men Red, and things like that. And then reading orders become a little bit of a nightmare too. But that's why Peter and I do reading orders for those type of books, and we love talking about that stuff off, like videos, like it's just me and him talking. like, hey, have you read this yet? But, like, when did you read this? Because I think I would have put it here. It's just a lot of fun to talk about. Joe.
Do we need to call security? I mean,
Sure. So, collected editions often also influence the conversation, because what people end up recommending, what people read, and I'm wondering a little bit your thoughts on that and how you've seen what's in print over time, over the course of your channel, influence what you see people are saying are the important stories, what's not important, what you can skip, what you can't skip, because so much of it is steeped very much in what's accessible. And I think everyone on the panel probably has examples of things that are like, this is actually a really important story that's not in print, and you're watching all of these lists come out, all of these people talking about these things, and they're missing that. So what do you think are maybe some stories that are not in print, how this has impacted the conversation, and sort of what people can do to maybe bring back some of these stories that aren't in print, because there's also an archival element to it. We've heard multiple omnibuses and other things get delayed because of deterioration in the original works and the restoration costs becoming too much. So, that.
Oh, that's a big question. Artfelt, I think you can answer this one, because whenever we were doing our evergreen chat, you were like, I'm having the hardest time coming up with omnis because they don't exist.
Yeah. Like I genuinely like a lot of the X-Men I like is niche side teams, and it was one of those things like I was like texting Peter in all caps because I was like, are you kidding me? How is this not collected? Because like Gen X has no omnibus and the trades are all out of print right now. At least for the original run. I know the newer run might be in print.
Well, we have epics now, but we were doing an evergreen omnibus.
Yeah, evergreens, but like there is no omnibus, and then a lot of New Mutants that I liked either wasn't collected in omnibus format or was just not collected at all outside of individual issues. So like there's definitely gaps, and I think a lot of that gets overlooked and not seen as like mainline X-Men because it just isn't collected or printed, even though they're really, really good stories. Like when we did our X-Men breakdown, everyone was like, where's Gen X? Why did no one say Gen X? We're like, we can't say Gen X, it doesn't exist. So I definitely think there is an issue with them not going back and collecting these little fun side shots, but I also don't know how you would boost the numbers to show you want it on some of these older books since they're not selling the floppies like right now.
Yeah. I hit the brick wall on this recently because a friend of mine who had like really been into comics back in the day, but he was the last Catholic as it was, and he wanted to get back into it now. And so I was trying to make it, I was like, can you help me know what to read? I'm like, absolutely. The great Lars Pearson can help you know what to read. So I started making a list, and I was floored as to how much really obvious, important stuff it really isn't in print, except perhaps in an omnibus. And I can't tell someone who's kind of returning or coming back or easing back into it, oh, by the way, you should start spending $90 to $125 on these things. I think at the moment, X-Men God Loves Man Kills is not in print.
I think the gallery edition still.
No. The gallery edition is out of print for $100.
Oh, it'll be in the next Epic collection because it's collected.
Yes. But this was the problem. I'm like, here's a really important story. You can't buy the sucker now, or you will be able to buy it in December-ish. I mean, but there was quite a lot of that. I think it's just we forget that keeping stuff in print takes a great act of will. It takes the publisher committing to it, it takes the money, it takes the people power, it takes all sorts of stuff. And yeah, really important stuff, you think, well, that can't be on print. It is.
I will say that how they keep things in print is really because of you all. Like, at least with Marvel. Because we've been doing a reprint poll for the last 5 or 6 years. It used to be just me telling David, hey, these books have been out of print for a long time. Maybe reprint them. And then he started like listening and actually reprinting them. And then I was like, hey, we'll take polls, let the people vote. And there's a difference in like, saying what needs to be in print and actually selling the book that needs to be in print. Like for the longest time, they didn't want to reprint Wolverine 1 because the sales were awful. But it was 10 years ago, and I had to remind him. And then we had a fun conversation about if it sells, maybe we can get a Wolverine 2 and keep going. And it has been. Now we're getting a 5. I just got it in the mail, and I'm really excited that it leads into the no-nos era, but that's okay. Not everyone can be a winner.
Yeah, I feel like I've had to turn a lot to do, like, recommending, DC Universe is a fantastic app now that comicsology is garbage, and Marvel's hard to use on your phone. But because a lot of my favorite things as a DC fan are not collected, and they probably never would collect it, or they do collect it, they don't put numbers on it, Birds of Prey, and it's just randomly done. So it's like a Titans fan. Those stories are not collected well. Some of them are not collected at all. I've had to custom find those things. And so I would say you could argue that's not important, but in a way it has become important with those characters coming back in continuity. And so that really struck, it's hard, they're having flashbacks to all these things that happened, pre-New 52. And I'm like, good luck reading it somewhere else. You can find out DC Universe or,
Yeah, that is the benefit to digital collecting, I feel like, is it is easier for people to get into comics, but do they have pings for if there's a rush of people reading a certain book, or is it just they only can see that people are using the app?
I don't know, that's been my big question I've had a lot is, what I've always asked, I always wanted to do a panel go to a panel, they talk about how the money really works and how your money really moves books. Really break that down.
I'm really curious if they were for example, say everyone is logging in and reading a certain run of Titans. Would they be able to see that and maybe collect it, or do they just see, people just have the app? That's what I'm curious.
I'm sure they're keeping track.
Yeah.
But whether there's a sudden rush of people reading titled X and think, we should print that, that I don't know.
I know with Marvel, sometimes it's, corporate synergy with a Disney movie that's coming out, like an MCU movie. I'm not sure about DC. Maybe with the new DC era, they will be. James Gunn has been pushing a lot of these collected editions in his trailers. I would hope DC would be let's go ahead and release a bunch of. Maybe that's where the
fingers crossed for
Superman Triangle years.
How many of you are regular digital readers? Not that many. How many of you are heck with that print only? Okay.
I prefer
some buddies of mine, they honestly don't have the devices. I'm well, you could just get a Marvel Limited subscription. Well, I don't have a way of reading except on my phone, which is dreadful.
One of the funniest comments I see is why would they make this book? And honestly, sometimes that's just one of the collected editions that are going, hey, I really want to make this book. I think it'd be really fun.
Yes.
And that's the story behind it. There's it's not like there's a movie or a TV show where people have been asking for it, but it does really help to have a channel like I do where people can talk about it on the Saturday streams and leave comments. I can't believe they haven't printed this. And then we did the most wanted Marvel Omnibus poll, which was a lot of fun and a beast to put together, but we let people vote out of 630 possible books. And I said David the top 60. And because he got excited. He was I sent him the top 25, and he was no, send me more. And I'm I got you. And then I sent him my own personal list because he always asks for that. And it's really cool to see how some of those may be getting made because people have suggested it. I remember on the Saturday stream, sometimes he would jump in and somebody was asking about, it was Captain Marvel maybe about Peter David. And he was that's a good idea. Yeah, I think we'll do that. And that's all it took. So sometimes it's just, ideas that are out there, and now they know that there's people like you all that buy the books, and maybe we should listen to the people. And I think a lot of publishers would really, really benefit from that. Just start listening to the fans and what they're buying, what they want.
If the Marvel list was 630, how big is the DC list? I
don't want to talk about that.
Okay, we don't talk about
All right, let's get to the next question, too. We tend to go on, so I'll try to...
Sorry.
Melanie, just throw some of those.
That's okay. This is helping with my step counter. So we're all good. I'm Al, and hello. I'm a Masterworks guy, and because I'm a glutton for punishment, specifically variant dust jacket Masterworks guy.
Oh, you're that guy. Okay.
I am that guy.
You get both, or you get just the direct market ones?
I just get the one. Come on, what do you think I am, crazy? No, good question. No, generally I do that, but of course, as you all have alluded to, it can get hella expensive to be collecting those. And I'm interested in dipping my toes. I haven't actually gotten any of the Epic collections. I like the omnibus in theory, but in practice I found the paper's a bit thin and it's a bit unwieldy to actually read. So I'm looking at the Epic collections, but as you were talking about a little bit earlier, do they use the same scans if the masterwork has already been done? And what kind of quality or preparation generally goes into the Epic collection stuff? Or is it they're just trying to crank out some mass market?
It depends on the era. If it's Silver Age, 9 times out of 10 they will use the most recent scans. Like they just reprinted the Coming of Galactus, what is that, Epic 2? 3, I can't remember. But that one used the new scans from Omnibus Volume 2, which are Corey Selmeyer, he's one of the editors over there. Him and the people at Kellerman's, like, their restoration is amazing. Like, now the paper stock, of course, is a little bit different. It's not the glossy paper stock, but it's not the matte paper stock that they're using either in some of the books that I've seen. I like the Epic collections. They've come a long way. There were a couple of missteps, but they quickly corrected those.
When would be some of those missteps?
They let America print them.
Well, yeah, no, the quality started vastly, wildly according to who's
LCS printer, was it the LC? No, it was the Sheridan printer in Versailles, Kentucky, which is where we used to live. I was right down the road.
Sales, that's what we call it. Let's not.
And yeah, so I would at least check 1 or 2 out.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're interested in them.
Their strength is being affordable and accessible.
Yes.
Well, I say affordable. They still cost like $45, but for what they are, for what you get and what they are, they're
really good for. I don't have any of the moderns. I really like them for like Silver and Bronze Age era stuff because it's just like nice to have bigger chunks to collect until you're up to like the trades. Like,
yeah, there's stuff that's not been masterwork too.
yeah, like I love it for Excalibur. The paper, at least on those ones, is about the same as what you get in a trade paperback. They're really nice, so I've enjoyed them.
Okay, it's a good question.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi.
I'm Sean Zasmer.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Okay. I wanted to ask about the epics, because I'm not tall that guy. Because it seems like they're getting more diluted as far as like more and more lines are being introduced. Because I tend to go epics first, and I get others to fill in gaps. But I just wondered, because it seems like they're getting so diluted, like they got away from the original plan. If you've had any discussions with David about, are they actually going to complete the classic line?
Yeah, so they are going to complete them. It just was a lot easier when there were only 4.
Right.
And now, just about everything, I can just think of like Alpha Flight, New Warriors, and books like that haven't been in epic format. But no, the plan is to complete the classic lines. Now, some of them they're waiting for because they know they're going to be the big sellers, which is like the Walter Simonson Thor era, the Frank Miller Daredevil era. Those type of eras, they're probably going to wait till last. Those will be the last books. And I think Amazing Spider-Man 16, which is the one that everybody wants. And I think they know, because it's kind of an ongoing joke now. But yeah, they do plan on making them. I think they release them twice a year. So you get 2, right? You get more of a modern one. And I don't think the modern epics have kind of messed that schedule up. They're not including those as part of the releases.
There is a danger in thinking, well, if they're printing X, then they're not printing this thing that I want. And it doesn't really work that way. I was a little surprised by the pushback from some people to the modern epics. And I was like, well, because yeah, they thought it was like taking the spotlight off the old ones. I'm like, well, first of all, if you're not into these, just don't buy them. But second of all, a lot of people are into them. A lot of people want to get, that modern Loki, that Avengers by Bendis or whatever it is.
Well, and the complete collections are out of print and they weren't selling.
Yeah, that's
you throw an epic label on it and it will sell.
Some of these epics were bringing those stories back into print so they can be bought. So yeah, for a lot of people, they were a big help. So.
Thanks for everything you do. I appreciate also your community, with the community and with Marvel.
No, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric, longtime viewer, particularly around the pandemic. And one format that wasn't discussed is the big slipcase boxes that we got for like Star Wars. There was the early X-Men, and I was thinking that might be a good way to collect the Krakoa eras, like Dawn, Reign, etc. And I just wanted to...
Are you talking about the boxed sets?
The boxed sets?
The boxed sets.
Oh, yes. You mean the slipcase, not the platinum edition.
No, you mean like the Infinity Gauntlet.
The Infinity
Actually,
Gauntlet,
that's when they
Lars.
swung open and there's all these doors. Yeah.
I hear you. That's, oh my gosh, but even then you're still looking at like 3 or 4 box sets. If you're doing it $500.
It depends if they were trying to do all of it. If they were trying to do...
I also don't work for
If
Marvel.
they were trying to do the major beats of the Krakow era, I think it could be done.
How does it look on a shelf? Like, does it
It
really
would look so cool if they could make the box look like the portal. Like, it's so awesome.
I love it nice.
Mark Brooks cover on there?
We didn't pull that. How many did you get the box sets?
I do for mom.
Not that many. You do have to have space for them, and they don't really shelve that easily. You gotta kind of set them on something. But they're beautiful. They're stunning.
I love your Scanlan, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, I was wondering that was Scanlan.
My name's Andrew, and I wanted to ask you guys, what are your top 3 collected editions that you own? And also, thank you so much. You guys are a huge inspiration to me as an aspiring creator, and that's why I got into collected editions, and I'm really inspired to do that.
I hope to see your name on a book I do an overview of sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that.
I'll let them go first. If you have them, I already have mine.
Yeah, so I'm really not off the top of my head, so it may not be like a perfect list. But I would say my Omnibus of Strangers in Paradise, because I love that paper. I just awkwardly talk about face feel of covers, and it matters to me, and maybe because I'm on the spectrum, that's why, I don't know. But I love the paper of that one. I also really like, I mean, any sort of like the library collections of things, but in particular, I'd say probably my Buffy ones. And then I'll say Junji Ito's manga collections, like the red and black, they look really nice together. Whenever they release those Junji Ito collections, they just look so good on a shelf. Yeah.
Do you have a particular one that you like?
Uzumaki's my favorite forever of all time.
Phil.
I don't know if I have a top 3, because like a lot of my collected editions are like...
House is burning down. You can only get 3 books out. What is it?
Yeah, so I like...
Grab the boyfriend first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like...
You can grab more books.
So my top one of all time is the leather-bound collection of Spice and Wolf. It's beautiful, it's stunning. It's the light novel though, so it's like kind of tedious to read, but it's beautiful and stunning. And then I don't know, yeah, like a lot of mine are trades, so I don't know if I have like a lot of big chunky ones that I like, but...
What about this Phoenix?
I mean, Phoenix Omnibus I think should always, Phoenix Omnibus. But yeah, I don't know, the Spice and Wolf definitely though, the leather-bound is chef kiss beautiful.
Lars?
For me, there's always that rare collected edition that you just feel lucky that it exists in the first place, and it hasn't been collected anywhere else. Legion of Superheroes 5 years later, for example. There was the singles issues they printed 30 years ago, and nothing else. And then they did the omnibus. You're like, okay, thank you. So that's very helpful. The occasional, I think, absolutes are very great. Especially, there's certain artists that really do benefit from being bigger.
What's your favorite absolute?
The Authority by Brian Hitch. I mean, just because Brian Hitch's art in bigger benefits from going bigger. There's so much detail in it. Again, Gene Haas here. Gene Haas top 10 with Alan Moore. Stunning. It's a bigger format. And then I think some of the Vertigo collections. I think, again, it's just Animal Man Omnibus, Doom Patrol Omnibus.
Those are the Animal Man Omnibus.
Yeah, and those are Vertigo. It's not guaranteed that they would have paid much attention, but they kept collecting them. Yeah, it's great.
I'm gonna go with Uncanny 3 Omnibus. It's got my favorite stories in there. It's also my entry to comics. Berserk. If I had to pick one, Berserk Deluxe Edition would be Volume 5, because if you know what happens in there. And Usagi Yojimbo, limited edition hardcovers. Beautiful. I wish they would reprint them without them being limited edition, but that's like something dark horse to do. So maybe one day.
Next question.
Hey guys, my name's Ryan. So I'm definitely more of an old soul. So do you guys have any idea on if things like Golden Age, like the rest of the Captain America stuff, Rawhide Kid, do you think that would have any hope of getting maybe printed in not necessarily maybe a new type of collector's editions that's more cost effective for things that are in lower demand for people that don't want Rawhide Kid maybe, but...
So those do take a lot of restoration. Like the Golden Age books are really expensive to restore, so they have to, get some kind of money back from restoring those. Masterworks, they did some, but not all, and now Banner Graphics is doing a lot of that era, the Atlas era. I'm not sure how their restoration is because I've seen some people restore or not restore, just kind of scan the books. And they don't look that good because you're used to the Marvel way or the DC way. I mean, even DC at some point, like, do a lot of restoration on the Golden Age stuff. As of right now, I don't. I got a small peek at the list that's coming, and I didn't see a Golden Age book in there. I'm sorry. I wish I had better news, but I think Fantagraphics is printing some Masterwork style books.
That's great so far. So hopefully they get to some of that other stuff too.
And DC seems to be reprinting them. Their Golden Age.
Yeah, you know what? Say never, because they finally did get through all of Batman for the Golden Age thing.
What are they doing? 10 was the last one?
I think 10 was the last one, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure 10 was the last one.
I think so.
Well, now they're starting the Silver Age, so. Yeah, never say never, because, I mean, we got Micronauts and ROM, so anything is possible.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm James.
James.
One of my favorite series of videos from you is the mapping videos. I find I have very strong opinions on how books should be mapped, even though I know I will never buy them. I was wondering how much influence do you have on the publishers of that?
I can always suggest things, and sometimes they take my suggestions and do it, and sometimes they're like, no. But what they have done is actually from you all that have emailed me to come, like I do a recap video with Peter usually about the books that are coming, and then I have people come in and ask like, hey, can you add this, can you add this, can you ask this? And if enough people ask, of course I will ask them. And then sometimes, yeah, we get things coming, so.
Yeah, I remember the Young Avengers omnibus when originally announced.
Yeah.
Had the 2 miniseries, and then there was a lot of feedback, and then they just put in everything in between those.
They did. Yeah, that was because of you all. You know, like we asked them, David's like, that's a good idea. Or I think my most favorite story to tell is Excalibur. And I'm sorry about this, but Excalibur at first was going to be Excalibur by Chris Claremont and Alan Davis. It was not going to be volume 1, 2, and 3. And I remember my wife was with me, and I was like, that was the first time I was really nervous about emailing David, right, the vice president of sales and marketing, and I was like, I'm going to make a small suggestion. It's your, it's your company. You guys do whatever you want to. But I think if you release it as a volume 1 with a hope of a volume 2, it would still sell as much. And I was like, oh man, I remember hitting send, and I was so scared that he was like, drop my number, never email me again. But instead, he was like, that's a really good idea. Yeah, let's do that. And we got Excalibur 1, 2, and 3 coming out. So that was really cool.
I feel like Omar's superpowers and fandom superpowers are at their greatest when they're asking for things that make sense. You know, I mean, occasionally Marvel puts out the content, so they just had a little bit of a lapse.
Well, and then sometimes it's out of their hand too, like
occasionally
when it's a license thing.
Yeah, but occasionally they just left something out that they probably shouldn't have, and then the concentrated influence, you can get it back in there. Sometimes fandom asks for things that's like, it's just purified fantasy. It's like, okay, come on.
Do we have time for another couple questions?
Probably we have like 4 minutes.
Okay.
Maybe one question, and then we can do.
Let's do a wrap around.
Here we go. My easy question for you is like, what is your shouting from the rooftops? I wish more fans were buying this book that people don't talk about as much.
Oh gosh, that is an easy and hard question because I have a lot. Right now, Ryan North's Fantastic Four has been a blessing. I love that book, and if not enough people are reading that, like you need to read Ryan North's Fantastic Four. I wasn't the biggest fan of Squirrel Girl, so I think a lot of people were turned off. Were turned off by that. But this is such a different book. He's such a smart guy, and it feels like each issue is like it's episodic, so it doesn't continue into the next issue, and I love it. It has a Silver Age feel to it. It's a wonderful book. But that's one. What about you all? Anything you're reading?
Real quick, I'll say a trade, Cosmo Knights. It's a very, very good ongoing series. It's a webtoon collected edition. It's awesome to be like anime and robots and that kind of stuff. It's great.
Mine would probably be Adventure Man. I really wish more people would read Adventure Man. I adore it. It's so good. It's Fraction and Dotson, and it's just stunning if you like secret society stuff or like The Mummy, Indiana Jones. I love it.
Okay.
Squirrel Girl by Ryan North. That's well, no, it's true. Because it's just hilarious. I mean, you have to read it with your head tilted to the side because it's so weird. But it was just fine. The omnibus and stuff, but you always feel like, this could be doing better. So yeah.
Okay. So, did you have a question?
Did you have a question? Yes. I was just going to ask what your opinions are on buying local.
I do my best when I can to buy locally, especially single issues, or I try to identify, if I'm going to an online site, I try to identify one that appears to be as local as it can to me. So I tend to buy from in-store trades, but I also know that they're in Tennessee, and we're in Kentucky, so I feel like that's local, but when I can, I go to my local comic book store.
I used to work in a local comic shop, so I would say support your LCS. I worked at one through the pandemic. I've seen how difficult it can be for them to survive, especially with the, ebb and flow of digital media and stuff. So always support a local comic shop when you can, in my opinion.
Lars.
Yeah, I'm a bit in the middle. The unfortunate reality is that the online discounts are just so high that I can't be paying a 42% tax on everything just to support my local comic book store. On the other hand, I do use going to the comic book store as a form of therapy. And when I'm feeling blue, I just go to the store and I kind of, suck in all the prints and the geekery and everything else, and then I will buy something to support them. Okay, I'll buy a deck of cards, or I'll buy a lapel pin, or I will never leave the comic book store without buying something. But when it comes to omnibuses,
I think for single issues, when they go into comic book stores, my wife makes me go, and I'm like, okay, I'll go. We always end up spending money, so it's great. It's what keeps the trades going, so a lot of people, just buy them to support the series that they like. Now I have one final question for you all, because I'm giving this book away.
Oh yeah.
All right. So Melanie, keep an eye out.
Prepare.
Keep an eye out there. Whoever races your hit test.
Yes, ma'am. You have the answer?
You have the answer?
I will observe the room.
Oh, this is on you. Okay. Yeah. All right. Who's paying attention? What was my first comic book?
Yes, sir. You had it first.
You want to donate to somebody? You can donate to somebody. Anybody else? Anybody else paying attention? What was my first
Omar? Yes, sir.
Okay, correct.
68. Yes, correct. Well done.
Baby, can you stand, move the camera over there so you can see if you're not camera shy, you can wave to the camera. This will be posted later on our channel. Thank you all for being here in pictures, right?
Oh, yes, I would love to take a big selfie with everyone, so if you guys want to stand and come a little.
If you're not camera shy.
Hey, that was it. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
No, seriously, thank you. Smash that like button, and hopefully, if we have more panels, keep an eye out. If we're near your city, come and see us live, and take pictures with us, because we got pictures taken. That was really cool.
We did.
That was really cool. Any last words, Lars?
Well, most importantly, we didn't say anything incredibly stupid, because in my view, stupid things, when you say them, they're always more embarrassing if people notice. This is my threshold for a successful panel.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Oddfell, any words of wisdom?
Just thank you all for showing up if you are in person, and thank you all for watching it now if you're watching it later.
That's what I was looking for, Lars. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. By the way, thanks to all of you as well. Yes.
Yes, thank you.